So I suppose if I start by going over what my actual background is. So I started off as a graphic designer, working for small ad agencies and design agencies in my 20s. And then I got married, had kids, and became a work from home mum for the next 20 years, doing something completely unrelated to my training, running a fish tank business, which needed at some point to get online. And that's where I started to develop the coding skills and switch over to engineering, because I needed to, I thought it would be a good way to upskill the graphics training that I had. And that's how I developed a coding bug, built site for others, won awards doing that. And that led to me setting up a tech startup, which then progressed on to going on to a coding bootcamp to build an app. That startup failed, but it gave me a really good opportunity to open the door into a new career in engineering. So that's how I ended up making that move across from designing to engineering. It wasn't necessarily a planned move, but each step along the way seemed to be the next sensible way forward. So I'll pass over to you, Seb.
Hi. Hello from sunny Billund in Denmark, so the headquarters of Lego. I'm happy to be here today to tell you a little bit about my journey. So I was definitely a computer science geek in early 2000, working for Intel Corporation, and I fell in love with the business of what the usability engineering and Don Norman Design of Everything's books and Jakob Nielsen's books, and decided to go in a journey where I could actually represent the end user instead of representing technology. And went in the direction of usability at the time, became user experience with time. And specialized in UX, worked many years in the UX field, made it up to senior director level at Lego. And back in April, we looked at the strategy. We'll explain it maybe a bit later, but I actually went back to managing tech teams, being back in engineering, and I'm now leading engineering teams still at Lego, and I will explain why maybe later. Yeah. So we have a bit of a dialogue, right? So Natalie, what made you go in this direction? Yeah.
I think it was after I'd done the coding bootcamp. Just getting to experience what it was like to be coding full-time, working with other people. I could really see myself fitting into that, and it was something I really wanted to do. And it made perfect sense. Like, after the kids had grown up, it gave me a real opportunity to get back out there into the workplace when I've been at home for so long, and just make use of that previous experience that I had as well. And so it really, it's given me a chance to have a second career that I'm actually finding really rewarding, challenging, but rewarding. And being able to use that background as well, I've been able to sort of progress quite quickly. So I've been working as a developer now for over 3 years. I'm in my 4th year at Zoopla, and I've drifted more towards that front of end because of that previous sort of design background. But I'm quite happy with that, and it's really I kind of wish I'd done it earlier, but then maybe I wouldn't have had that background to sort of like lean on what I do now. But what about you? Because I know you said, I know when we've spoken earlier, that for you it wasn't an actual choice to make the switch from design to engineering. So I just wondered how you found that.
Yeah, actually, it was a bit. I was a victim of my success in a way, because when I started with Lego, I worked on the central UX team, kind of a center of excellence, and we operated throughout the organization, the digital organization, by positioning UX as as a consultancy. You would actually go and help teams with UX skills. And all I did, over the first 2 years here at Lego, I actually, pushed as much as possible to convince product teams to invest in UX, get UX more like taken care of by not only a UX consultant that will come and go, but actually have it as a team shared responsibility. We created something called the UX Academy, where we also explained to people that were not UX specialists the basics of UX. How do you run an interview? How do you prepare for usability testing? How do you, present results and talk to your stakeholders? So we created some kind of internal academy system out of, I think we did like 12 modules in sprints. And we trained this way a lot of people inside Lego. Then we also had another approach, which was talking to VP and senior directors and helping them understand, the benefits, the return on investment of UX. And we managed to get, for example, SOS score as a normal measure for success for value measure in products. So when we reorganized in end of March, April, we actually decided to embed UX into every single product team. Of course, teams that have a need for front end and user experience, but we didn't have like this position of one central organization, one center of excellence anymore. So basically, I lost my job. I was not needed as a senior director for UX anymore, and I think it was the right time to actually switch to the other side, not preaching for UX all the time and saying, you should think about your users and so on, but actually be on the product side and engineering team, and actually act and develop the products with a user in mind.
And how did you find that sort of like confidence-wise? Was that quite a scary prospect to go back into that after, I know it was originally your background and then you switched to UX, but to then go back into engineering, was it a challenge or did you slip into that role quite easily?
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, it wasn't a problem. It was actually very welcome from the engineering side to have somebody that had experience made experience in user experience, and I had always kept a little bit also of appetite for tech. I was doing side projects, pet projects, took part to hackathons, for example, on the side, which I really recommend everyone to do. As a kind of a hobby or side activity thing to explore and see other things around. So yeah, that went actually quite well. I don't know about you. How did you actually start coding? Was it like something that made you switch? Did you have like a calling or something? Did you wake up one morning and thought, oh, I know what I need to do now?
Yeah, it was. It started way back when we had that fish tank business, because there was real pressure for all the companies, because this is going back quite a few years now, and there was this real drive for companies had to have that online presence, because if you didn't, you weren't going to get customers calling anymore. So it was something we had to do, but we didn't have a budget to get somebody else to do it. So I had to sort of try and think outside of the box, as it were, with the constraints we had. How can we get it? And it was like, well, if I could do the graphics before, why can't I build a website? So it was going online of an evening once the kids had gone to bed and just working out how you actually put a site together. And got to the stage with building SEO into that as well, of managing to keeping the phones ring. And then, I don't know, I think I quite liked the challenge of the problem solving, and because I would sit there till quite late trying to make things do what they needed to do. And then that 1 minute when the code would suddenly work and I didn't quite know why, but it did. And that just felt really good. And I think I got addicted to that that little adrenaline kick that I got when that moment happened. But yeah, it's quite interesting because I don't know. I tried to get into it, I suppose, earlier when I was at school, because I did want to get across into computing, but it just wasn't encouraged. So I never had the chance earlier on to do it. But it must have been something that was always sitting there in the back of my mind. I always had an interest in tech and things like that. You know, my brother got the computer, and it was like, well, I could know I've had the ZX Spectrum as well, but he got it, I didn't, sort of thing. So it was, I don't know, it seemed a natural progression from the graphics to then how do you digitize that? How do you bring that into sort of like now? So learning those coding skills seemed to be really good. And then the boot camp was just phenomenal of working through that. Really hard, massive learning curve, but I really enjoyed it. I like learning stuff. And once you move across into engineering, you've got to keep learning all the time. So yeah, I just really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's what, you named it, like this problem solving mindset. It's great to be on the UX side and tell, how you should do it this way. You should actually, do it differently. But when you've got the power to actually make it happen, when you actually have, learned the things that are sometimes, not, you think that like it's like impossible to do it yourself or to learn it. But you are a fantastic example for actually proving people wrong. It's actually fantastic to be able to not moan and complain and criticize, but actually to act and do it and be able to have this ability to change things for good. Yeah. I was myself, always on my in my career confronted to this kind of a wall. Yeah, your idea is fantastic, but no, we can't do that. It's impossible. And then I will spend a lot of of my spare time working on a solution and come back the next morning and say, well, I did it, so that wasn't impossible. Now make it of course like properly. Make it scalable, make it properly, not as a prototype anymore, because I was more like prototyping stuff. But it helped a lot always to have this ability to talk technology, not only, not also being able to demonstrate stuff. Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but because this is like a second career, I'm really conscious of having this career clock that's ticking away. Do you find that as well? Have you, what are your motivators now?
Yeah, I think I think you reach a point, whether also UX has attained some kind of maturity that it's becoming a little bit of a repetition of things to say, you should consider your users and so on. And I think we are at a stage where we need to move on a little bit, go to the next battle. Depends, of course, on the maturity of the company you work for, but there is so much, things to consider, so many things to do. What about you? Did you have did you have this impression of having this time?
Yeah. When I was younger, I was conscious of sometimes you think, oh, I don't need to take that risk just now, or you could sit back and you got time. You can just bide your time and wait a couple of years before you go for something. But now it's like, well, I've got to make every sort of like month, as it were, count, because this clock is ticking in my head really loudly. So I have to constantly push myself harder than maybe I would have when I was younger. So I'm outside of my comfort zone quite a lot, and I've had to get used to that. And there's a lot of reevaluating at different points, but quite frequently reevaluating to make sure, am I still learning? Am I pushing myself? What could be my next goal? Where could I go next? Just to try and, because I'm quite ambitious as well. So it's just trying to keep pushing things along. And I don't seem to have as much patience in that respect, career-wise and progression-wise, as I might have in my 20s, because that I haven't got that benefit of time to just sit back and wait for it to happen. I've got to make it happen. So, yeah, it's quite interesting how much it does actually push you further than you even think you're capable of it sometimes. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It wasn't something I expected, that was for sure.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because this kind of feeling of aging, actually changing technology and taking new challenges is it's maybe a solution to keep you young, at least in your head. You feel like always like on the learning curve and not on the kind of old senior person telling a younger person what to do, which I really hate doing. So yeah, I think it's also a good way of staying young.
Yeah, my children actually made an interesting comment about it as well, because I'm trying to get them to decide what they want to do, and they've kind of turned around and said, well, it doesn't matter, Mum, because like you went and retrained and did something else, so if this isn't working, we can go off and do something else later, which I thought was a really nice way of looking at it. That even now, who knows, there might even be a career number 3 a bit further down the line. So
yeah, that's right. It's super cool. Yeah, I don't know if you would like. Should we take some questions maybe and answer? The audience.
Yes, we have some questions. Can you start my video, please? Thank you. Hi all. Yes, so this is a great conversation. So thank you to you both. And you're talking about being brave and out of your comfort zone. I really love this format, and to hear your candid opinions on your careers. So we have a few questions in here. I guess firstly, and Sebastian, I'll direct this to you. If you could go back to one point in your career, what would you say to your younger self? And what point in your career would that be?
Yeah, that's a tough one, actually. I don't regret anything. I don't regret any changes. Maybe I should have made like better choices in like not renting a place, but if I had known that I stayed in a place for longer, then do something else. But I really enjoyed the fact to change, to have like different kind of mini careers also in several countries. I lived in the UK, I live in France, I live in Germany, and now I live in Denmark. It's not simple. It makes also your maybe family life or work-life balance a bit challenging sometimes. But I don't regret. I don't think you should change things. You should really decide. What you've decided. You've decided it, and just carry on. Nothing to change.
That's a really nice attitude. And Natalie, I'll ask you the same thing. Would you have anything to change? And I really liked your child's positive outlook on life, that they look up to you, that because it is a huge decision to make a career move like you've done. But if you could go back, what point of time would you go back to yourself, and what would you say?
I'd probably say, don't worry about all the no's, because there's been quite a lot of rejection along the way. And I don't know, I've always managed to find another way around it. So just because one door shuts, it doesn't mean you can't go and take a little bit of a detour and still get in another way. So not to let those no's get you down. It's just getting you closer to that one yes that you're going to get eventually. And I would go with the same feeling that I don't regret anything, because all those experiences make me what I am now, and all those experiences I can use and look back on to guide wherever I go next, or whatever decisions I make now. That experience helps me. So I wouldn't, I don't have any regrets in that respect, but it's just that, don't worry, don't listen to when people say no. If you really want to make something happen, then you can. It just might take a bit of hard work, but you'll get there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Sebastian, what do you think is next for you in your career at Lego? How do you think you'll progress the dev team in terms of integrating UX?
So I will definitely in my area make sure that UX is on the agenda. I've already organized a few product teams, and they all are definitely one of the first recruitment we make when we start a new product is finding for the right UX designer specialist. What is actually happening, and I make maybe a little bit of publicity for the Lego group right now, is like we're opening a new office in Copenhagen, and I just moved last August to actually help and staff this new office. So we're looking for a lot of engineers, a lot of user experience specialists, a lot of data specialists, and that's I really encourage you to check our career page, because it's plenty of fantastic opportunities. I think it will be a super nice adventure, because we will also start, a new office in a new place, creating, trying to create or to replicate the Danish from the headquarter culture in a new environment, and it's super exciting.
Yeah, when we did spoke, you mentioned about the important piece for you was working in your career was the company that you worked for, and you felt Lego did a lot for charity. So that is an interesting career point of view from you. Exactly, yeah, it's a super important aspect of my work is to wake up in the morning and don't think that the company I work for is pointless. I really appreciate working here, and I'm sure a lot of people would, because there is something meaningful behind learning through play, giving access to play to millions of children around the world, and also having a kind of a social responsibility above actually profits. Yeah. Great. And Natalie, there's a question here which it's something also that was front of mind when we spoke. It's around how do you play it to your advantage, your design career, and your knowledge on design. How do you play it to your advantage within a developer area?
I noticed quite early on that a lot of the developers around me might feel quite uncomfortable about the design realm. So because I can sort of think with both hats on from that experience, then I can help explain things, or I can sort of, as I've said in my talk, I became a mediator between designers and engineers to help both parties see each other's sides and point of views. And it's just, there's little things that do get missed along the way that I can pick up and then flag up with either party. If I can see something that might cause a problem further down the line, then I can raise that and have a discussion with someone early on so that we can try and mitigate any problems further on. And it's just, I think it's being able to have that vision of both sides really helps. And it's quite a niche spot to be in, but it's something that I've found has been appreciated by designers and developers alike. Both have said, that it really does help to have that knowledge of both sides. Yeah.
And what are you doing in your career to jump from that junior developer into that senior developer role? How are you, and what's the next level for you after that?
I think it is pushing myself even harder, I suppose, and getting more outside that comfort zone, taking on bigger challenges. So examples is where I've taken on initiatives that have brought people together from design, content and engineering to work on something. So the example that we had was to look at accessibility checklists and how we could integrate it and push it as far left in the process. But that meant we needed to get everybody from all the different disciplines in the company together to talk. So I took that on. On the engineering side, I suppose, sort of like the core engineering capabilities, I need to keep drilling down on that so that I can build up my own confidence to move to that senior role. So it's digging more into spikes and giving myself permission to fail publicly with that as well within the teams, because it's sometimes you have this block that you think everybody else knows more than you do, but realizing that if you're starting a new challenge, a new problem, that you're not expected to know everything. So giving myself that space to, okay, I need to look stuff up, I need to go and chat, and then being able to present that back to everyone and help steer direction. So it's that's the kind of things I'm taking on now. And of course the public speaking as well helps, because if you can learn how to communicate back to everybody and explain concepts or the work that you've done and present that back, then that helps build your confidence. It cements your knowledge. It helps spread that knowledge throughout the company. So I find that a really useful thing to do.
Yeah, I really did enjoy your presentation. I thought it was very clearly laid out, and it is, as you said, you almost are easily able to translate it to somebody else, from an outsider's organization to know. That's really good. And I've a last question here, would be around how do you keep yourself motivated for the future? So I'll take that one to you, Sebastian. You've had a lot of, I say, ups and downs and roller coasters on your career. What drives you for that next step?
Well, obviously, delivering something that excites and really, having this, this product going live and getting a fantastic feedback out of it, and knowing that it's been such a journey behind, that we had to go through so much UX research and prototyping and iteration and MVP and going through this journey. So it will be always changing challenges. Is super cool. You always get like to this level of having no clue to finding out amazing insights and experimenting. So as long as there will be this space to have this cycle of starting something new, thinking like, what the hell can I do about it? I have no clue about it, and having this process of innovation and exploration and implementation, and hopefully at the end of the day pretty good feedback. I think I will stay motivated. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that also as part of managing UX, I was working on developing a business design system for Lego, and we were a little bit struggling to make product teams adopt this way of working. And one thing that is fantastic being now on the engineering side is that I can actually force, my engineering team or ask actually them to adopt this way of working. So it was also an enormous advantage of being on the engineering side today.
Yeah, no, really great. And Natalie, just lastly on, you mentioned before about the buzz of getting back into your new career and after being so many years alone and working for yourself, and moving to that London and that buzz of a new role, a new job, a new team. If you lose that, do you think you will move career, or do you think you will try and change within the career to keep that motivation?
Yeah, I definitely want to keep on the path that I am. I do miss the startup buzz because I found that's different, completely different from being in a much larger company like Zoopla. So it is a completely different setup. So maybe that might be a direction I'll move towards to get back into that startup zone. But yeah, I just want to see how far I can go with this. Having made the move sort of like so late, I don't know. I just like the challenge. So I just want to see where this is going to end up. Who knows?
I think a lot of people are looking at that the same. And I think it's a call out to recruiters as well, because a lot of people see that career, as you said, 20 years doing this, and they almost dismiss somebody for being too, as you said, not fitting in a right kind of path. So I think it's an eye opener for all. We are at overtime. Really appreciate this and just the candid conversation that you've both had. I will hand it back now to Snezana for the rest of the afternoon, and thank you all.